First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, appreciate everybody joining us. We're streaming live on our apps, on our social media channels, and on our website. So lots of places to find us. And right now, we are talking about partially the Oregon Charity Championship, which is a golf tournament coming up on October 2nd, featuring over 30 nonprofits competing for some great prizes, but also out there to get the word out about what they do for our community and how they help out, and some really, really amazing organizations. And we're talking about one right now called Adaptive Sports Northwest. I have the executive director who is joining me right now. Jen, thank you very much for joining us here today. You know, I'm excited to talk about what it is that you do, and I think to really begin this, could you give us, what it is that Adaptive Sports does and some of the history of this organization?
Sure. Thanks so much for having us here today, Greg. So Adaptive Sports Northwest has been around for 40 plus years under a couple different organizational names. But basically, our focus is really working with both youth and adults with physical or visual impairments to recreate, to compete all the way up to the Paralympic level, and just support them in various programmings that we do. Again, everything from team sports to recreational type endeavors. So everything from adaptive cycling to wheelchair basketball to wheelchair rugby, goalball, pickleball. We have all sorts of things going around, and then also just supporting our community as a whole. So going into schools, helping folks, in their local community centers, things like that, just to make sure they can break down some of those barriers and recreate with their family, their friends, and their peers.
Well, it's such, a myriad of sports that you just even mentioned right there that you're covering. Yeah. And I do want to talk briefly, too, about your history. I believe it's 6-time Paralympian that you have competed in the games?
7, Greg. You shorted me one.
Thank you. Okay. I'm glad you corrected me on that. 7 times. That's just wild in its own right. I mean, how did you get into it in the beginning?
Sure. I was a military brat, so I grew up kind of overseas and in the States. Lost my vision as a teenager. I was living in Colorado at the time. Both my parents coached sports, and I got a call from a gentleman actually from the School for the Blind. I never went to the School for the Blind, but called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to try this sport called goalball?" It had ball in it. So grew up, playing basketball and softball. So said, what the hell, right? And that's what we did. And my dad got a rule book out and started coaching. And the U.S. coach at the time happened to be at nationals that following summer where we were competing at. And I was asked to come to training camp and was fortunate enough to make the team as a 17-year-old youngster in the 92 games.
Wow, that's incredible. And then 7 times from there. So, with you having that experience and then getting into this and finding, that outlet for yourself and finding out that you're really good at it on top of that. But I mean, what is it like for you, now approaching other people who have whatever disability it may be, approaching them and saying, hey, this may be intimidating, but you too can get involved in this. How do you approach that?
I mean, for me, that's what our mission is, right? I think we approach it from that standpoint, trying to figure out where people are in their world, right? Like, what are those goals? As much as, like you said, I mean, I was blessed to be very fortunate to be competitive in the sports arena from before I was, blind till now. But I think it's meeting those folks where they're at, rather that is trying to get those Paralympic dreams, or that's just wanting to recreate with their kids or their peers. Just again, that you can know that rather that was a disability that you acquired or something that you were born with, you have the same opportunities. There's so many things to learn from sports and recreation, I think, out there for everyone. So rather that's socialization, it's community building, it is that competitive itch. It's out there, and that opportunity should be out there for everyone from youth to adults. So rather that's over 75 softball, or that's a youth wheelchair basketball kid dreaming of being at the Paralympics one day. That's what we're here to do is make those kind of dreams come true, and at least provide those opportunities, and where people take it from there will be on them. But how do we break down those barriers and give those opportunities?
That's amazing. And I've got some images up right now just of some of the different sports and different things that you participate in, which are really good illustration there of that. So for for all of these people that are involved, let's talk about the organization just a little bit more. So it's Adaptive Sports Northwest. So I guess how big is it? How encompassing is it? You mentioned a lot of sports. I imagine that's a pretty big organization that you have going there.
We do well, yes and no. We're a very small staff. We really rely on the community and volunteers and our supporters here in the community to really make things happen. But right now, we're currently running 9 separate programs. I said pickleball earlier. That's the one we're adding. But we're very grateful to our partners like Toyota, but also our partners within the community as well, community centers, the local schools, the local hospitals, just trying to get people involved. But we couldn't do it without our volunteers for sure, to be able to support our athletes and our members, across all of our different programming, for sure. It's instrumental. So.
Other than pickleball now being popular, how have you seen a lot of what kind of changes, I guess, have you seen over the last few years?
I think the biggest thing was I think COVID affected everyone, and I think it hit folks with disabilities maybe even a little harder because there's fewer opportunities I think on that sports and recreational outlet for folks. So when COVID shut that down, I think that hurt our community. So I think the last couple of years we've really tried to rebuild, coming out of that a little bit, and especially our team sports. We were just fortunate enough, we just kicked off our team sports season. We have power soccer that just is starting this weekend. We started our wheelchair basketball programs. Goalball kicks off. Our swimming program kicks off. And so just watching those communities come back together has been outstanding. It's been exciting. It's been exciting just to watch. Our cycling series this summer out at Portland International Raceway was so well attended. I mean, we had 47 people out there on one night, just trying different adaptive bikes, community, having fun, and competing, but also just being back together. So.
I mean, that's exciting with all of those different things. And like you mentioned, COVID affected everybody, but certainly getting everybody back together and now being involved in something like that. Something I wanted to ask, just, you mentioned all the adaptive bikes and the adaptive equipment and things like that. How has the tech adapted? Maybe since you started, when you first did that first Paralympics, how has the tech changed things since then?
Oh, I mean, I think tech involves so much, right? I mean, when you talk about the equipment, whether that's adaptive bikes, that's a sports chair, it's a ski, whatever those things are, I think the technology behind that, rather it's the running blades, those different prosthetics that are used in different sporting aspects has been phenomenal. Like you said, from watching it, from 1992, retiring after the Rio Games, watching my teammates and my fellow Paralympians, it's they're getting lighter and faster every time, we put a piece of equipment out there. And so it's been great to watch. And we've been fortunate enough, here in kind of the Oregon, Washington area to support a lot of high level Paralympians, watch them, achieve their dreams in different sports.
That's amazing. Well, for something else that you mentioned, talking about volunteers, being a very important part of this. And that's also part of what we want to do here with this interview is get this information out there to people who may not be aware of it or may not even know they may be a good fit for this. So when you're talking about volunteers, what are you looking for and what are the ways that people can get in touch with you and help out in that aspect?
Sure. We're always looking for volunteers for our different sports, whether that's scorekeeping at one of our tournaments or it's helping assist in our coaching. We're always looking for power soccer coaches to assist there, wheelchair basketball coaches, goalball, anything you want to get involved with. We're happy to have you. Also, just the manpower, even from the administrative level, right, to help us organize, get bodies that help us represent down in schools and or be available for, helping pull bikes and equipment out or hauling trailers. We've been fortunate enough with a partnership with Toyota to be able to get a Tundra, for this upcoming couple of years, and we definitely need someone to help haul equipment and do some of those things as well. We're all over the kind of the metropolitan area as well as up in Vancouver. We're always taking trips up to Seattle and things like that. So we're always looking for drivers and just the people power to help us achieve our goals.
Nice. So everybody can go there to the website and probably find out more information about that.
Yes, you can go to adaptivesportsnw.org. So ADAPTIVESPORTSNW.org.
Well, talking about sports, this is a golf tournament that's coming up, the Oregon Charity Championship, that Adaptive Sports is a part of. So I guess a couple of questions there, something I'm kind of asking everybody. If, say, you were to win the grand prize, which I believe is $25,000 for the grand prize. So if you were to win that, what would you do with those funds?
A lot of ours, it's always supporting our athletes and our members. I'd say for that, getting equipment. As you said,
Yeah.
the equipment, to play wheelchair basketball or cycling equipment, it's pricey. A sports chair costs around $3,000, not $100 pair of
Yeah.
high tops, to play basketball. And so it would probably go into our equipment for sure, just to get our athletes, better equipment, faster things. Like you said, as the technology involves, just getting some of that stuff updated for sure.
And do you have a good team lined up?
We do. I mean, both their staff and volunteer teams are lined up, and just our participants. I mean, they're eager to get back out there, just participate and give everything they have, on the court or the field of play. So.
Nice. Well, Jen, anything else that you want to let people know about? I guess one other thing, and I'm sure it's probably going to the website, but just for anybody out there who maybe is looking to get into this, or they haven't been in it before, or maybe it's something recent that they've experienced, that this now maybe be an option for them. How should they approach, or if you know someone, how should you get them in touch with you?
So yeah, again, you can go to the website, or you can call 503-241-0850. If you're an interested athlete, family member, volunteer, donor, anything like that, feel free to, lines are always open. We'll get back to you as soon as we can if we don't answer. But yeah, via email, info@adaptivesportsnw.org is also another email address that folks can contact us at. And we'll get in touch with you as soon as we can.
Awesome. Well, Jen, thank you very much for joining us here on this. I am sorry I shorted you one Paralympian, one Paralympics.
It's all good.
I will not do that again. But I appreciate you being here and talking about this. And thanks just for everything that you do.
Thank you, Greg.
And for everybody watching right now, appreciate you joining in as well. Again, we're live here every weekday at 1 p.m. and then throughout the afternoon. So at 1:30 coming up today, I've got Eric G. from Around the House Northwest talking about tips and tricks to paint the inside and the outside of your house. And then at 3 p.m., I've got the president of a company called Near Space Corporation. They're the ones behind that weather balloon that everybody was talking about yesterday. So they're going to be discussing what exactly they're trying to do with it, whether we should expect to see more, and some of the tech that they're working on as well. So all that's coming up on today's episode of Fox 12 Now. So it splits up just a little bit in there. Like I said, 1:30 p.m. I'll be back on here. So I'll be happy to see you there. Whatever platform you're on, just come right back there. I'll talk to you then. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.